adds top 10 list number 2, which is not planning for taxes. I'm sure you may have seen this before, once or twice. What's that all about? Not planning for taxes. Why is that on the list?
It's on the list because most business owners only think in terms of, especially in the startup stages before they're developed, they only think really in terms of federal taxes. Well, there's 2 ciphers. One, they think in terms of federal taxes and forget something called payroll tax because they're not employed by a company anymore where it's done automatically for you most times. So they'll forget to make their quarterly payments. But the flip side of it is because, even if they structure to, they do it all at the end of the year and account for all those taxes, well, their paychecks have been bigger throughout the year and they're not remembering I'm going to have to pay the government at one point in time. And so they spend their cash flow as if, they'd already paid taxes and kind of forget that they're going to become due.
Isn't failure to pay payroll taxes a crime?
Yes. And that's an interesting, it's interesting in light of the political landscape and the discussions around payroll tax right now that we're even having this. And actually we had talked about these top 10 before the potential suspension of payroll tax and elimination of payroll taxes come up in conversation. But yeah, businesses do, they forget to make these payments.
Yeah, so I probably should have mentioned in my intro that I have a master's of law in taxation, but I kind of messed that one up. Next video, I'll make sure to mention
You gave me all the designations, Barry. You forgot all of yours.
I did. You know what? You weren't thinking about me, and you know what? That was selfish.
Well, hopefully we'll do another one of these and forgive me.
We'll get it right. So yeah, planning for taxes is significant. You're right. I mean that the startups, they're focusing on treading water. They're focusing on just surviving and extending the runway as long as possible. The last thing they're thinking about is taxes, because they're not thinking like we're a formal organization where we're sophisticated in our planning. They're just not thinking that way. And I guess there's like a line that gets crossed when you do become successful in that business. I guess in the entrepreneurial world, when you develop a repeatable, profitable, scalable model, at that moment that I guess that happens, you really got to get that team in order. And they have to have you and I on the team, or else they're going to
it's a lot of CPAs as well. I mean, we've always discovered a good team of CPAs that we work with as well, because that really completes the trifecta that you had mentioned earlier on.
We're going to have a video with you and I and a CPA or two and other guests and other videos. And I think that will be a really nice way of just continuing to extend the knowledge and discussion over these areas.
And talking about taxes, it's kind of a side note, or subtopic is, I find a lot the improper classification of your employees as to whether 1099 or W-2. A lot, there are specific rules regarding that, and I don't hold me to it right now because I don't have the laws in front of me.
I do think guys tell us right now.
Yeah. A lot of times they'll classify everyone as 1099 because they don't want to deal with the payroll tax side of things. That really could come back to bite them in the butt.
Let's talk about that for a minute, because I think that really should be like number 2A / number 11. It's not on the list. I think it's a great point.
11. Yeah, we'll see how far deep our numbers go today.
It looks like we're probably going to have to cover this one over a series of videos. But that's good, because I think we're having a nice discussion about these areas, and I don't want to rush it just for the sake of time. But you mentioned a really good point.
There's one thing we have on our hand right now is time, I guess you can say, with everything going on.
In certain ways. Except my kids are going to start screaming soon. So you mentioned the payroll tax. Putting aside the political nonsense about payroll tax, just kind of assuming that things are normal for purposes of this discussion. The payroll tax in part goes towards health insurance, Social Security. There are obligations under, I believe, the Affordable Care Act that organizations that have a certain amount of employees have to pay into the system. And so naturally, the response by organizations was, well, let's recharacterize our employees. I think the number was 50 or more. Don't hold me to the number. but it's 50.
I believe you're correct.
So say you have 55 or 60, you might want to just start saying, okay, well, these people are really actually 1099 contractors. They're not employees. I don't have to pay into that system. And so that's kind of what happened. And so I get a lot of calls with people kind of telling me how they're characterized. Their employees are characterized.
Real quick before you kind of go on, is it also, from a financial planning, retirement planning standpoint, could really affect the business owner. Because if they were incorrectly classifying their employees as 1099s, but if they didn't have to make 401k contributions for them, maybe the business owner is only doing a SEP IRA for themselves or something like that. If the IRS were to come back and reclassify the employees, it could cause not just a payroll tax issue, but a potential issue in the 401k retirement planning landscape as well.
Because there was discrimination, and you can't discriminate among employees, right?
Haimo.